You have nailed your proposal speech in the mirror 100 times. The restaurant's perfect. Your palms are sweaty. You finally slide open that little box. Their eyes light up, and then they hit you with, "Is this real?"
Wait a minute! Who are you?
What does real even mean anymore? You spend lakhs on a diamond. Shiny, flawless, impossible to tell apart. The only difference? One took 6 billion years inside the earth, the other 6 weeks in a lab. So why are we still paying way more than double for the older one? Why are we still obsessed with what we call the real ones? And why is India suddenly the center of a $55 billion global shakeup? Hi, I'm Hiral and welcome to Level Up with Hiral. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes lab-grown diamonds different, how India is flipping the global market, and most importantly, how to decide whether you should buy a natural diamond or a lab-grown one. Let's be brutally honest. Most of us don't buy diamonds for their chemical structure. We buy them for what they represent. That is love, status, prestige, celebration, etc. In India especially, weddings are as much about jewelry as they are about vows. The diamond is often a statement, and these statements historically have come with a hefty price tag to match. Now, lab-grown diamonds look and are chemically the same as mined ones. They cost 30 to 70% less, and even professional jewelers are unable to tell the difference without special lab equipment. For decades, lab diamonds were dismissed as synthetic or fake. The terms made people think of cheap cubic zirconia, which is a man-made stone that looks like a diamond but is much cheaper and far less durable. But why are these diamonds so expensive? Let me explain. Now, do you know what Apple does with its iPhones every year as soon as it is released? You don't get it immediately. There is a long queue, long wait, and those who luckily get it first feel a real sense of pride and love to show off that they got the iPhone before everybody else. Now you tell me, do you really think after knowing the kind of demand iPhones have, they cannot produce enough units and keep so that everybody can get their iPhones on the first day itself? Of course they can, but they choose not to. Why? To create artificial scarcity. This way that hype and demand for the iPhone stays even after the new model looks and feels almost the same as the previous one. Nike does the same with Air Jordans. And well, De Beers did the exact same thing with diamonds. De Beers was the first company to discover the shiny stone in such a huge quantity. They created scarcity by locking up supply and made us believe that diamonds were one-of-a-kind luxury. But were they really? A few years ago, De Beers basically pulled off one of the greatest supply tricks and marketing campaigns ever. They controlled most of the world's diamond mines, which meant they could decide how many diamonds hit the market. So instead of flooding stores with all the stones they had, they slowly released them, keeping supply low so that the prices stayed sky high. And then they launched the genius ad campaign, "A Diamond is Forever," and showed it to be the stone one should use to propose to their loved ones. And suddenly, everybody believed a diamond engagement ring was both tradition and once-in-a-lifetime luxury, when really the scarcity was pretty well staged. Then in 2010, things got interesting. Meghan Markle wore lab-grown diamond earrings on a royal tour, and now suddenly the whole narrative around lab-grown diamonds changed. People stopped believing that lab-grown diamonds were for people looking to buy diamonds for cheap. Rihanna turned up in lab-grown diamond studs, giving them her stamp of cool. And finally, Leonardo DiCaprio, after starring in Blood Diamond, a film about the dark side of mining, backed a US lab diamond startup. In 2018, the US Federal Trade Commission finally made it official, saying that lab-grown diamonds are actually real diamonds. And right as that conversation was heating up globally, India stepped into the spotlight. After all, we have always been the world's diamond workshop, cutting and polishing 90% of mined diamonds, mostly in Surat. But lab-grown was a new chapter altogether. Between 2020 and 2023, India's lab-grown diamond exports exploded from 1300 crore to 14,000 crore. And Surat went from barely being on the lab-grown map to becoming the global hub for CVD, or chemical vapor deposition diamond production. The Indian government went ahead to push this forward. They declared lab-grown diamonds as a priority sector, put 242 crore rupees into IIT Madras so we could make our own diamond seeds instead of importing them, and even scraped import duties on key raw materials to give the industry a head start. As a result, Indian jewelers like Tanishq, Reliance Jewels and Senco Gold now have dedicated lab-grown lines. The same artisans polishing a 80 lakh rupee mine diamond for a foreign brand are now polishing a 50,000 rupee lab diamond for you. But when it comes to Indian weddings, the family goes a little too crazy. My dad always told my mom, don't buy diamonds, buy all the gold you want. I never thought much about it until the day I had to shop for my own wedding. I found myself in a jewelry store wondering, should I even buy diamonds at all? And if I do, should they be lab grown or mined? Diamonds are a cultural expectation, and families save for years to buy jewelry that will be worn once at the wedding and then locked in a bank locker. Well, lab grown diamonds really shake things up and make you think. Do you go for a 1 carat mined stone or double the size with a 2 carat lab grown for the exact same price? What do you think I bought? Guess it in the comments below and I will reveal the answer towards the end. If lab grown are cheaper, ethical, and identical, why do mined diamonds still sell? The psychology of luxury could define it. Luxury is about exclusivity, and people want the story of a billion-year-old gem, even if it costs twice as much. That's why the high-end houses like Cartier and Tiffany still refuse to use lab-grown in their engagement rings. But we've seen this snob effect before in different fields. People used to laugh at vegan leather not too long ago, right? Now it's all over both our Instagram feeds. And the same can be said about cultured pearls. Once upon a time, everyone called them fake. And now they're basically everywhere. At first, people were pretty dismissive about lab-grown meat. And now, even Michelin-starred restaurants have it. In luxury, today's outsider often becomes tomorrow's standard. Which is why counting lab-grown diamonds out in the long run could be a pricey mistake. But if you are thinking about buying a lab-grown diamond, do not ignore the catches completely, since there are quite a few of them here. As more factories pop up, supply could shoot up and prices might drop even more, which is great if you're buying, but not so great if you're hoping to resell later. You also need to watch out for fakes, so always check for IGI or GIA certificates. Otherwise, you could end up with glass or cheap cubic zirconia. And if lab-grown really takes over, diamond mining countries in Africa could see massive job losses. But honestly, most everyday buyers don't even care. Traditional diamond giants aren't sitting idle, as there are some key developments underway over there. It backfired, as consumers thought that if De Beers is selling them and they are real, why pay for mined ones anymore? Meanwhile, there's a quiet wave of pushback happening, as some groups are lobbying to keep lab-grown diamonds out of certain luxury categories. And in places where they are clearly labeled, the confusion is leading to outright fraud cases. In India, the BIS is working on separate marks for lab-grown and mined to keep transparency high. Now, another thing your jeweler probably won't even know is that lab-grown diamonds are beyond just pretty rings and necklaces. They're also being tested for some seriously high-tech stuff, like running quantum computers, making super powerful semiconductors, and even cooling equipment in space, because they're amazing at conducting heat. And if India gets really good at this side of things, the export potential could be as big as what we have seen with IT services over the last 3 decades. See, when you are buying a diamond, you're actually buying a story. So what story do you want? A billion-dollar journey from deep in the earth, or a modern guilt-free luxury that won't break the bank? For the first time ever, we get to choose. And the thing you guys have been waiting for, what did I choose? As for me, I ended up buying natural diamonds, because as of today, they do have some resale value. And if I want to ever exchange my jewelry in the future, I will hopefully be able to. Also, this decision was made by my parents, but I guess I might make a different choice. It would also depend on what I am buying. If I'm buying something small like a pendant or a ring, then I will probably go for a lab grown, because as I just mentioned, natural does have some resale value. The rise of lab-grown diamonds is a proof of a bigger truth, that if humans can manufacture scarcity, someone else can manufacture abundance. The earth took billions of years to make a diamond. A lab in India can do it in 6 weeks. So next time if someone tells you a real diamond should come from the ground, do ask them if it's something precious because it's rare or because it's right for our times. The choice and also maybe the future of luxury is in your hands. So if you were proposing tomorrow, what would you go for? A lab-grown one or a mined one? Tell me your answers in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Hit the like button if you did, and don't forget to subscribe, because that one click from you means the world to us. I will see you with yet another breakdown next week. Ciao for now.